I believe that girls can change the world, which is a pretty amazing statement. There are 250 million adolescent girls living in poverty in the world today. And for too long, those girls have been seen as a problem. But there's been a growing sense within the international development community that these girls could actually be a solution to their own problems and to other problems. And really what I want to talk about this evening is how girls can actually be so empowered that not only can they rise above their own challenges, but that they can start to bring about change in their families and their communities. One of the evidences of this growing concern about putting girls right at the centre of development was highlighted just earlier this month when the Girl Declaration was produced on the 1st of October. And I'm going to have to turn around because I can't read it from this screen here. But I'd like to read you a little bit of this. It says, "I was not put on this earth to be invisible. I was not born to be denied. I have a voice, and I will use it. I have dreams unforgettable. I have a name, and it is not anonymous. Someday they will say, this was the moment when the world woke up to my potential. This is the moment I was allowed to be astonishing. This is the moment when my rising no longer scares you. This is the moment when being a girl became my strength, my sanctuary. This is the moment when the world sees that I am held back by every problem, and I am key to all solutions. This is the moment when a girl and a girl and a girl and 250 million other girls say with voices loud that this is our moment, this is my moment, yes, this is the moment." So I'd like to take that as my starting point today. And I'd like to focus on two particular phrases. And it's one in the middle of the screen there. The world sees that I am held back by every problem. And the second one, I am key to all solutions. So what I'd like to do is, illustrating this, there are 250 million girls, adolescent girls living in poverty in worldwide. And they reckon there's probably about 80 million adolescent girls living in poverty in India. So I'd like to illustrate those two phrases from my experiences over the past few years in India. Firstly, I'm held back by every problem. A huge issue, a huge challenge that faces girls even before they're born is the fact that there's a great preference for boys. So much so that they reckon there's probably almost 1 million abortions every year of female fetuses simply because they're girls. And this has become such a big issue that the Indian government has now legislated so that it is illegal for a doctor to tell a pregnant woman that she's expecting, or at least the gender of the baby that she's expecting. So every year, huge numbers of children, fetuses are aborted simply because they're female and for no other reason. Another problem is the fact that many, many girls from poor communities don't get a chance to go to school. This little girl, as you can see here, is probably only maybe 5 or 6 years old, but she's doing something that in India they call childminding. And it took me a little while before I realised when people talked about the evils of childminding, what that meant, because obviously we mean something quite different. But obviously it means a child that's maybe as young as 5 or 6 years old, minding her little brother, as this girl is doing. And of course, the sad thing is, because she's doing that, she will not be able to get to school. Care India reckons that only about 18% of girls stay in school through till they're 14, and only 1% of girls stay in school until they do their GCSE equivalents. One series of statistics that I think is especially disturbing is the level of child marriage in India. Even still, UNICEF have come up with the statistics that almost 20% of girls get married before they're 15. Just under 50% before they're 18, and it is illegal to get married. There's lots of good legislation out there, but unfortunately in a country of 1.3 billion people, often either people don't even know about it, or certainly implementing it is a challenge. So those are the statistics, and obviously I know the statistics, but this summer I had a very challenging and sad encounter with this girl, Artie, who I knew, have known for many years. She goes to Dunk Primary School, one of the schools that we fund. And in this photograph, which was taken last summer, 2012, she's 12 years old, just about to finish primary 7 or their equivalent, and go on, I thought, to Kaplani High School. And as I say, she comes from a very poor family, and we've been supporting her education for a number of years. But when I got back this July, I discovered Artie, the married woman, 13 years old, married, out, not in school, no longer in school uniform, and minding the goats for her husband's family. And those kind of encounters really bring home to you how the horror of those statistics. And so child marriage and forced marriage, and if you're a child of 12 or 13, how can it not be a forced marriage? These are all huge issues. And of course, not only does early marriage mean that the girl has left school at a young age, it also means the likelihood of early pregnancy. And statistics show that if a girl gets pregnant under the age of 15, she is 5 times more likely to die of childbirth or complications of the pregnancy. So really not a great situation. So is there any hope? Well, yes. The hope is girls given a chance to be educated. Enabling a girl to stay at school results in all sorts of very positive consequences. It increases the age that she marries at. It reduces her chance of being sexually abused. It reduces her chance of dying in childbirth, as we've just mentioned, reduces her family size, and also, I suppose, obviously, increases her earning potential. Staying on at primary school increases a girl's earning potential by between 15 and 20%, and if she stays on to secondary school, it could enhance her earning potential by up to, and this is each year we're talking about of extra education, of up to 25%. And the amazing statistic that goes with this is that 90% of those enhanced earnings will go back into her family and community, whereas the increased earnings of boys, about 35% they reckon goes back into the family. So a hugely significant statistic to say it is really important to give girls a chance and young women a chance to do all they want educationally, and so be able to earn more and become more independent. So I believe that girls are the key. They are the key to all solutions, as it says in the Girl Declaration. And these wonderful girls are in another school called Sneha. And you can see from their faces, you can see from their demeanour that they have a self-confidence that is so important. And that, to me, is what education is all about. Education, yes, learning, facts, doing well in exams, these are all important in their own way. But actually what is really important is this opportunity to develop, to believe in yourself, to understand that you have the potential, that you have intrinsic value and worth. And the kind of education, we're supporting the education of well over 1,000 children, and giving this kind of education that really makes young people, and particularly girls, feel that they are as valuable as boys. That it's not just, I'm just a girl. What can I do? But I am a girl, and what can I do is very different. But there's a key time in all this. Keeping a girl on at primary school is really important. But the big challenge is when girls reach puberty, because 25% of girls in India drop out of school when they reach puberty. Some of it's because families are concerned about maybe they might be sexually harassed or abused on the way to school or even in school. some of it is to do with practical things, like the fact that many schools don't have a toilet, and so if a girl is going to school during her period, how is she going to cope? Many girls don't have access to sanitary products because many women in rural parts of India, and we're working mainly up in the Himalayas, in the foothills, many women simply use sari rags to handle menstruation. One of the really crucial things that we've been part of doing has been providing toilets. Because even if girls stay on at school once they reach puberty, they tend to miss 25% of their schooling simply because they don't go to school during their periods. And you can dramatically reduce that statistic by providing toilets. So one of the things we've been doing has been building toilets in lots of schools, including government schools, that we have links with. Now, I know it says boys at one end. Unfortunately, the person who took the photograph took the wrong end. Obviously, there's a boys' toilet there, but there's also a girls' toilet at the other end, and that's the point. So this all has a huge impact on self-esteem, and these are the things that we're really working with in this program. But it's fantastic to see the positive outcome and how girls are staying on in school, and we've just completed an evaluation of a 7-year program that we've been funding with one of our partners, and at the end of 7 years, I find this hard to believe. I still need to check the statistics. But the finding was that 100% of the girls were staying on to class 10, which is GCSE equivalent. 100%. 70% staying on to do their A-level equivalents, 12th class. And in that 7-year period, the age of marriage, the average age of marriage, had increased from 17 to 21 in 7 years. Wow. So these programs can be really effective once you help girls and women believe in their own intrinsic worth, once you help them to deal with a lot of the taboos that are facing them and help them really to believe, as I say, in their value. I want to end by telling you a fantastic story about a fantastic young woman who is in the photograph above. The third girl from the left is called Kamlesh. And I have known Kamlesh for 5 years, and she is amazing. She comes from a really, really poor Dalit family, and her father ran off and with another woman about, I suppose now, 7 or 8 years ago, before I first knew her, and her mum. Her mum's called Camila Devi. Anyway, they live in this very impoverished village called Donk, which is up in the Himalayas, in the foothills of the Himalayas, and as I say, very straitened circumstances, and we'd had the opportunity of supporting Kamlesh and her 3 sisters and her brother and their education because they were left destitute. So they were living in this sort of borrowed house. And actually, I need to tell you something first. Kamlesh's big dream's unforgettable. Her dream was that she wanted to go on to 6th form college and then to university to study home economics. That was her dream. No other girl in the valley had ever done anything like that, but that was what Kamlesh wanted to do. And you can see from her beautiful, smiling face, that was at 16, so that was taken 3 years ago. At 16, that was her hope and her dream. She did really well in her GCSE equivalents and her A-level equivalents. She got 1st division, and she got a place at university, and Saphara sponsored her to follow her dream. But what happened then, this time last year, I got an email from our NGO partner who said that Camila Devi and Kamlesh and the other children had been basically evicted from this house that they've been living in. So what happened then, here's a photograph of them. So this is taken about November last year, and obviously Himalayas, snow comes before too long, and there was a real need for help for Camila Devi and her family to get a new home. The villagers all got together. They got together stone and built it up. And actually, Camila Devi's father had he had died and had left a small plot of land to the family. And she spoke to her brother, and he agreed to allow a little 2-roomed house to be built on part of this land. So it was built, and we gave a bit of help for the roof and the doors, and the rest they were able to manage within the local community, and that was fantastic. But then in December they had moved into the house. It was all looking great, fantastic, and suddenly what happened? But the brother, Camila Devi's brother, Kamlesh's uncle, saw the house, and he decided he would quite like that house for himself. So he told Camila Devi that he was going to take over the house, and actually changed his mind about the land, and he was going to take over the house. And so then she went racing off to speak to the director of the NGO to say, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And he said, believing in empowerment, believing in helping people to solve their own problems, he said, you must go, what he's doing, what your brother's doing is illegal. You must go to the village elders. You must tell them what's happening. They will, and get them to listen to you. And of course, poor illiterate Dalit woman, she just felt, I just can't do that. I just can't go to the village elders and speak to them about this. And Kamlesh now just started university, 19 years old. She said, I will go. And this young girl went and spoke to the village elders and said, this is what my uncle is trying to do. He is trying to throw us out of our home. And the village elders listened to her. And they said, what he is doing is wrong. We will support you. If he tries to do this, we will get the local magistrate. We will get the police. We'll stop this happening. Can you imagine what Kamlesh felt like? She had stood up to the kind of oppression that for many, many girls in many parts of the world is just the way things are. And she had stood up, and she had managed to stand and to make a real difference in the lives of her family and her community. And that, for me, is what education's about. It's about empowering young people to really believe that they have a future, to believe that they can make a difference in the world. And it just says it all. So, to end, there are 250 million adolescent girls living in poverty in the world. They are the most powerful force for change on the planet. Thank you.